What's up, y'all? This is Hussein Nasser from iGeometry, and happy holidays, everybody. Happy holidays. Yeah, hope you guys are having a great time. It's 24th of December. Just returned from Orange County. It was a long day. We had so much fun. So, I thought I'd record a special episode just for the holidays. So, there it goes. So, what do we want to discuss today? What do we want to discuss today, man? We want to discuss versioning. So, I wanted to do like kind of a short episode today to talk about. First, are we recording? Yes, we are. Alright, so we talk about versioning in general. We're gonna create our first version, right? And then we're gonna switch to that version. Talk about high isolation, which is what versioning is. So this goes in the beginning, obviously. Then you create a version, switch to that version, make some edits in that version, and then we will also learn a new interface called IVersion in ArcObjects, which will tell us, which will allow us to do certain things on the workspace, like asking for the name, switch version, do all kind of crazy things, right? Let's get to it. Let's get to it, man. All right. So, high isolation. What is high isolation? So, in general, isolation. We did talk about this, right? Go back to our paint. Some people laugh when I just open the paint. I don't know Photoshop, all right? I know I can use PowerPoint, but I don't have it here, all right? Don't judge me. That's the only tool I know how to use. All right. So, in general, let's talk about versioning and versioning trees and in general. So, the idea of isolation in a database transaction to isolate a particular transaction from the other transactions is to basically literally isolate edits and reads from different transactions edits and changes. So if I'm reading a piece of information, a record for example, I don't want, while I'm reading that piece of information, I don't want someone changing that. So this results to all these kind of isolation phenomena, which is like repeatable reads or dirty reads and all these kind of different isolation phenomena that there are, right? Really read the phenomena. Like if I try to, for example, if someone is making a change, all right, let's take an example, a feature, right? So if someone, I'm reading this feature, that's feature, oh my god, what's that? That's scary. That is scary, not that, man. That scared me. All right. So let's say this is feature A. Okay. Someone edited feature A, right? Or before that, right? Let's talk about, for example, dirty. What I am discussing this, I don't know. Sometimes I just started to babble and then talk about different topics, right? So you guys, if you do notice that, just type in the comment. Hey, say Hussein, what are you doing? Right? You talk about something and you jump to another topic. If you really don't like this style, just tell me, right? I just like to talk about different topics that are related. So, for example, this is feature A. It has these kind of attributes, these geometry shape. A point is always a point, but a different location, right? So let's say it has, let's say height, right? Height is 100, right? This is, think of it as a pole, for example. The height of this pole is 100 feet. Yes, I start to use American units now. Look at me. Instead of meters, feet. There you go. All right. So now I came here, and how do you do this? Let's do this here, right? And this guy, let's call him Sansa. It's a Game of Thrones character, right? This girl started reading this feature at at T0. I feel like these kind of times, like T0, which is, think of it like 9 o'clock in the morning or something, right? So T0, Sansa read this, right? And then at T1, oh man, at T1, Rob made an edit to this. He changed that feature. He set feature A, the height of that, right, to 200 feet. It's just impossible, man. I mean, what kind of error is that you missed 100 feet worth of error? This guy, whoever measured that, should be just fired, man. Because 5 feet is acceptable. Okay, you missed 5 feet, but 100 feet? That's just insane. Alright. Okay, so he updated that. How did we know this is an update? I could use this. Oh my god, that's amazing. I can change the color. Wow. This is skills right there. These are skills, right? I can teach you a thing of two, guys. Look at the skills. All right, so this guy, T1, he came. So Sansa's transaction is still open, all right? So she's doing her thing, going to feature A, read that, and went to another feature, does another stuff, and then she came back at T2, which is like 9:05 in the morning, 5 minutes later. I don't know which transaction will last 5 minutes, but you get the idea, right? Don't sue me. So Sansa came back. Sansa is a badass now. You don't mess with Sansa. Now she's gonna be pissed, man. Sansa's gonna be pissed. Someone changed her feature. She's a badass. Look at that. So now she read that feature again, just to make sure things are right, right? And she found the height is actually 105 feet. She's like, what the fuck, mate? Who changed that feature? It's like, I don't know why she suddenly speak Irish, but I think this is what she's supposed to be when she's angry. So yeah. So she read it at T0 in the same transaction. T1, Rob came in, messed with this feature, right? And then T2, Sansa came back and she's like, let me go back and read this feature, make sure things are right. See, maybe she's calculating things, all right? So these things, this phenomena, having to read the same feature, the same attribute, right, or the same raw, the same attribute twice in the same transaction and getting different results is called a repeatable read phenomena, right? This is unrepeatable read. So if you don't get a repeatable read, if my read is not repeatable, then I have really bad isolation. So that's my point. Like 20 minutes. When did I start recording? I have no idea. But I've spent like 5 minutes. That's why my videos are so long, right? So that's the thing. I was while driving back to Redlands from Orange County. I was like thinking, okay, how can I make these videos shorter, right? But given yours truly, I don't think this is possible. So I'm planning to start a new series just to talk about really short things and burst 5 minute videos. I'm gonna call it like ArcObject by example, but I'm gonna talk about this some other time. But yeah, I want to start talking about shorter videos, but it's really hard, guys. It's really hard to explain things in 5 minutes. I don't know how YouTubers does this. Really, yeah, kudos for those who really explain things really well in 10 minutes or less. So I try my best, but my videos are long. I don't know, some of you from the chart, most of you just watch 10 minutes and just give up, like from the average, right? My videos are shortest video I ever published was like 30 minutes, I think, 20 minutes. I was like, ooh, I was like in a hurry or something. But yeah, most of my videos like an hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. So I was like that. So I don't plan. I just talk. I just talk. It's like a classroom. But yeah, so this is the isolation, concept of isolation. So you isolate. So how to fix this? A simple solution is to acquire a lock, right? So you lock this feature or this row. So this guy, if he's trying to edit, he's gonna wait until the exclusive. Not this. This is actually a shared lock. So she's acquiring a shared lock. This guy can't edit, so he's gonna wait until she finished her second read, and then uh, basically she can get the same result, which is 100 feet, right? So that's how. This is one way to fix it. You lock it, so any read she performs. There are so many ways to fix that, but so that's the repeatable read. Another thing is just the dirty read. Dirty read is like easiest way, right? The dirty read is like when I'm gonna explain this, guys, whether you like it or not. So the dirty read, I just feel like I have to. I don't know. You can skip through this, but it's important to. I talked about the isolation levels and all this stuff. So this is the dirty read, right? Dirty read is T0. Uh, yeah, T0. Give me a like a Breaking Bad character. Walter White. Yeah, bitch. No, that's Jesse. All right, so Walter White came and he started a transaction and he wanted to edit, so that's red, right? Look at the skills. Look at the skills, changing colors and shit. Dude, feature B, right? He went and changed the feature. Let's say just save for the sake of an argument. Mother. Feature A. Make this black. Look at that. Dude. Okay, feature A. He changed that. Alright, so he changed the height to 109 feet. Okay, and let's just make this orange. You know why? Because he really didn't commit his transaction. He says just, you know what, let me change it. I don't know if I'm sure about this. He's doing some shit, doing his thing. Walter White, you know him. He's doing his things, right? And then T1, this guy, Jesse, came in and says, yo, Mr. White, what's the feature A value? It's 109. So he started reading that. Poor Jesse, you know. Jesse read feature A and it's 109, right? And says, and he assumed that's the value, right? And he made decisions. Jesse bad decisions, as you all know, based on the pole height. All right, so Walter White is dicking around. He came back. He says, "You know what? I changed my mind. All right, I'm gonna roll back this change. I'm gonna discard it. Just roll back." So rolling back a transaction is basically what we're gonna lead you the original value, which is what was it, 105, given that we are in sequential now, right? So that's the original value. 105 was the original value here. He changed it to 109. While he changed it, it was a dirty read. That's what we call a dirty read. All right, so these are kind of problems that is caused by isolation or bad isolation or lack of isolation. So let me save this. I like it. Oh man, igeometry. Isolation, dude. All right, so this is isolation. That's the idea of, that's a problem of isolation. If you don't isolate, if you don't acquire locks, if you don't do timestamps reads, you get into these kind of problems. You can imagine what kind of problems. This is the worst. You should not allow a dirty read, right? So I wrote a really detailed topics about these dirty reads, and let me share it again with you guys just in case you want it. It's in HusseinNasser.com and all. Nope. There you go. Acid. Read uncommitted. All these kind of different isolations. Read uncommitted, repeatable read, read committed, and dirty read. I think I'm explaining all these things here. Dirty read phenomena. Yeah, you can read about these. So examples. I use an Instagram examples to explain these. All right. Back to the problem we have here. So what did we want to talk about? We want to talk about high isolation. What is high isolation? So high isolation is the idea of you can do anything you want and nobody can see your work. Like only you can do your work, right? So instead of having one table, one feature, one version, and everybody's just hitting this version, what you will do, we're recording? Yes. What you will do is basically have something called a version. You create a version out of a version. So let's see, we have by default the default version. This is called the root version. And what you do is basically you create a child version. Let's call this child 1, okay? And what you do, this will become the child of this parent, when this default will become the ancestor of all these child version. And then let's go ahead and create another version out of the child, and we call it child 2. See? So now edits, as we explained last time, are a form of lineage. So like if you make an edit in the default, you change a state. Everything is a state. And by default, like when you are in state 0, for example, here, and you create a version, this guy gets the same state, 0. And if you create a version at the same state, this guy gets the same state, which is 0. So now if you made an edit in version default, right, the default becomes state 1, right? And the child remains at a state 0, pointing to all these edits that you make, right? So these edits are made in something we call delta tables. So these are A and D tables that basically tells you what changes that you made, right? So this is very important to know. All right, so if I change the default version and I created a feature, I edited something, I move to another state. If literally another state, I stay in the same state. California, baby. Right, we stay in the same state. But Yeah, you move to another state in form of a state change. All right, so that's the idea, right? So let's you made an edit one, you made another edit two, then you saved your edit, and then you decided you want to create a version. See, that's different now. This version it came from this state, so it has state 2, right? Makes sense. And think of state 2 as these number of edits and these number of edits. State 0 was the original change. So child 1 still points to the original state, if you will. And now you can do all kind of crazy stuff, right? So like if you edit child 2 at that state, it will become state 3, and then you can create a version out of that, and then this is what we call a version tree. You can call this, right? So that's just in a nutshell. That's the idea of versioning. You can create a version. So that's high isolation. So even if I am in child 1, I only see my changes. Child 2 only see its changes. Nobody can see others' work. Of course, in a version, there are something called access privileges. So let's see some software. How about that? Let's take a look at the software. Let's do something fun. Phonetic. All right. So in the last episode, we enabled versioning. Didn't we? Sir? So by default, we have it in the default version. Let's go ahead and create a version. All right? Why not? How do you create a version? Dude. Where's the versioning? Ah, there you go. New version. Simple. Who is the parent? Who's the parent? The default is the parent in this case. All right. Let's call this child1 and make it public and switch to this version. Right. So this is description, the child1, whatever. Right. I'm not gonna call it child1. Let's make it useful. All right. I'm gonna create a version, and this version represent an employee that needs to do some work with this, right? So let's assume I want to make this. Let's cancel this. Let me show you what's going on here. So if you go to the service territory, remember we populated this like way back. These two are dynamic properties that is populated through code, and it will tell you through this service territory that we have, this guy has 48 div coverage and 52 reception coverage. So let's say my goal for this version is to make at least 70% reception coverage. So how do we do that? Let's call it project 1, okay? This project is supposed to increase the tower reception. So we're gonna add a few towers here. We switch to project 1. I can make anything I want now. Let's do some changes here, right? And by changes, I mean I'm gonna create new towers right back. And I wish I can have different kind of towers here, but yeah, all right. Let's create a tower here, and a tower here, and a tower here, and a tower here, because I have so much money, right? Why not? Create all these towers. And then select those, on those two, edit. I want to make those two. I'm gonna put IDs. These are A's, LTE. This guy is what? A, LTE. This guy is A, LTE. I might need to put a tower ID. I think we're gonna crash if we didn't. I don't know if we handled that. Right, LTE, save my edits. You notice any change I made was a state change. Any change. Like I made a project, like if we, I don't know if you want to save this, I don't know. Let me show you what I did. What happened is that default, then I created a version right off default, I think, and I called it project 1. And then I just made billions of edits, zillions of edits. So I probably am in state whatever, right? So a lot of state happened. So I'm not going to show you the tables and stuff. It's very complicated, and it's not the purpose of this series to show you the internal structure of the table. You don't need to know it. There's no benefit of knowing that. All right, so I'm gonna save now, stop editing, and then hit my. Nope, he doesn't like it. It says cannot implicitly convert. No, he's doing something with those. Let's give it a name then. Told you. At least didn't crash. Let's save edits. All right, man. I'm gonna call it what? P1, P2, P3, P4. That's D7. P5. At least this is what I think. I think it's the. Look at that, son. I have no idea what's that. That's a bug. That's probably a bug because we increased that, but look at that. Okay, how we are doing with the service territory? Oh, we did increase to 69. We want 70 though, right? So how can we do a 70? See, that's what I'm talking about, right? I am in my own version. You cannot do it. You cannot tell me what to do. I can do whatever I want, right? So let me just mess up this. Take this up there. Perhaps do that here. I have a feeling I'm gonna cover more areas this way. Perhaps do it this way. And you come here. And you come a bit here, and then we save edits, and then we recalculate. It takes time now. See, it's slower, so it's churning through all these edits. Is it gonna return ever? Do I have to stop edits perhaps? Holy shit, it didn't. Oh, there you go. There you go. 78. That's much better, right? Like just by readjusting. You can add just another, throw in 2 towers here and you're gonna hit 80 easily. So look what I did. I made a mess out of the project, right? I can do whatever I want. Nobody can tell me anything, right? You can. This is my version. I am in high isolation. Nobody can. I mean, of course they can. If I mess up, they will. But you know the point, right? Let's go back. Let's go back to default. See, the original default has like 7 towers, right? Lame. Go back to my project. Look at that mess. That's the idea of high isolation. You have your own version, and you can do all these stuff. All right. Before we end this, we made an edit, we switched the version, we created a version, we want to talk about IVersion. Now, how can I know which version I am in? And some of you will ask, hold on, how did your code just magically worked on versioning? How did it know the version it's connected to? Because we wrote the code in a way that it will always read from the layer. And this way, because we always change this, the layer, it will always read the layer to get the latest workspace. That's why when I changed the workspace to use John instead of SDE, it worked fine, right? And also when I changed it now to just change the version, it will always get the latest version, and it will update to make sure to update that version, not the default, the current activated version. So here's the code. Let's open it. So I want to show you one more thing here. When I click, I'm going to display a little message box to tell me, before it updates that, what version am I connected to. Da-da-da. All right, what is that? Update coverage. Is this the function? I forgot, man. This is the service territory class. Can I do a message box here? Oh man. Where are we here? Are we in a form? We're still not in a form. I need to be in a form. So generate dead areas. There you go. That's the function I'm looking for. So generate dead areas. Look at that. Look at that. Generate reception area. There you go. On click. That's what I need. We got the workspace. See? From the workspace, and we create a service territory class, which is a class that we created it. Object oriented, baby. Pure object oriented. But this is hard coded to use only one main class. What we name it. We need to change that. See, that's what I'm talking about. It always reads from the first layer. So if your map doesn't have any layers, just this code just crashes. But this is probably the best way to get the latest workspace without worrying about how do you open a workspace, or using workspace factories, or doing all these kind of things, right? You let the user switch the layers, and you have your workspace all the time. There are problems with that, obviously. Like if you have multiple workspaces, your layers pointing to a file and service and SDE, you have to do much better than this, right? I'm not telling you this is the best way to do that. What did I do now? But all right, before we send in the workspace, I want to do something here. I want to do IVersion, my version equal PDS IVersion. I remember someone explained to me how do you do this. So I just cast my workspace as a version because my workspace is a versioned workspace now that we enabled versioning. It is a version workspace class, and that class, which is the versioned workspace, implements iVersion, right? How do I know this stuff? I Google it, man, or just go to the Esri site. Like for example, I just say iVersion and then say ArcObjects. That's the easiest way to do it. You go here, then you go to that iVersion interface, and you go see co-classes that implement iVersion. Version workspace. That's it. And Version Workspace implements iVersion and all these other stuff. iVersion Workspace and also iWorkspace. So I know that iWorkspace, not all the time, obviously, only versioned workspace. Alright, so now I know that this will not generate a cast error. I can just do message box dot. Come on, man. That's what I don't like, C#. Just message box, because I don't have a form, do I? Yeah, should have a form at least to do that work. Alright, how can I do alright, no problem. I'm gonna use the arc map with application the title, was it title? Caption equal my version dot version name. My version is this. Probably it's better just to add another rebuild. What I did is basically, instead of displaying a message box, I just, instead, we're going to change the title of ArcMap. Just to show you the current version I'm connected at. I'm connected to. All right, man. Let's do that. So when I click, see, my version is sde.default. How about that? Change that to project 1. Click again. My version is John.project1. John being the owner, whoever owned that version. That I don't think I talk about this. So the current connected user who created that version owns the version, basically. So we can, for example, now create another version of project 1 and say project 2. Right? Make this private so nobody can access that. Only. So did I speak about these things? No, I didn't. So private, public is anybody can switch to this version and take a look at it. By anybody, I mean users, database users. Now we have John and SDE only, I think, but we can create more users, obviously. So private, let's create it as a private, right? And then let's go to our catalog, SDE, connection, new, administrator, add user. Let's add another user. Call him man. You love this guy, don't you? Everybody loves Ramsey. Fucking hell, he's dead. All right. We just created Firefox 46. Yes, very interested. Now let's just change privileges. Add Ramsey. Where are you? I don't want to say any spoilers because some people genuinely may not have seen the final episodes. So I don't think this is how he spell his name. All right. So we just created a Ramsey now. Fancy. We're gonna create a new Ramsey, connect Ramsey at Phonetic. Are we still recording? I was afraid that in the middle of the videos just stop recording for some reason. Can I do add this to a new map? Oh, we don't have another map. I keep forgetting that. But we can add a new data frame, I think. How do you add a new data frame? I forgot that data frame. There you go. Data frame is essentially another map, isn't it? In Pro, we have proper different maps. Oh, this is unreadable at all. We don't have it proper symbologies. But just to show you the ideas, right? Just so you go here. This guy is connected to the default. I'm gonna change. I only see project 1. I don't see project 2. I can switch to project 2. I can see the data, but I cannot see project 1, but I cannot see project 2. Switch here. You can see project 1. You can see project 2 because you own that thing. It's a private. Private only the owner can see it, which is John owns this, right? Public, project 2 is public, but you cannot, everybody can see it, right? You can switch to it. This guy is private. And protected is basically you can switch to it, I think, but you cannot edit it. I think that's it. That's what it is. But I'm not very sure. We can check. So I think that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys have a great holidays, a Merry Christmas, and I'm gonna see you in the next one, hopefully. Enjoy your holidays. Goodbye.